Ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between and outside the ballpark, welcome to the crew!
Hey all, welcome to Behind the Lens for another episode. Today, we're interviewing Chris. Chris, would you like to introduce
Hello.
yourself for those who may not know you?
Hi, my name is Chris Kani. I do cool stuff on this game called VRChat. And I'm the Director of Community Relations for Project Community. I also do sportscasting as well for xCirrex and Pool Parlor. And in my free time, I do live streams. But I like live streams on Twitch, actual corporate live streams. So companies like Thermo Fisher and, fun stuff like that.
Perfect. Thank you very much for your time. Now, why did you choose this world, Chris?
Well, what we're currently in right now, is the Project Fest 2024 world. It was, as of recording, our latest convention that we have hosted, because we should be, Today is August 27th, 2024, so if we're watching this after HorrorCon has happened, this is filmed before HorrorCon has happened. So this is the latest world that we currently have right now. And it honestly blew me away when I was here, seeing all the different booths that existed. And of course, when we went live, seeing the droves and droves of people that came in and the fun conversations that were had were absolutely amazing. And so this place, I just absolutely love.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Now, if we take it back a bit, how did you get into VRChat?
I feel like that I have the same origin story that like a lot of other OGs have when it comes to this game, where it was legitimately just Jameski. I found a video from Jameski. It was like the original like VRChat in a nutshell. And that initially got me intrigued into like what the game was about. So on like my 2018 gaming laptop, I bought an Oculus like CV1, hooked it up, the two base stations, and then just started playing there. And I initially just started with just playing random games of Werewolf, and it spiraled more and more into just, hey, let's see what how big we can get when it comes to just like these events.
And onto that, what was it? A lot of gaming events when you started off, or was it just more general kind of public lobbies hopping?
I mean, there wasn't necessarily a community at all for a whole bunch of gaming stuff. So for those things that you would see, it's just, public lobby, you would hop in. If there's someone hosting a game, if not, then you'd be the host. And then you would just wait until people come in, maybe invite some people. Bam, you have a game of Werewolf. Go and play, finish it, cool. Everyone leaves. Maybe you play another one. Maybe you stop. It was all just sporadic public instances that people joined in and had fun with.
Yeah, completely fair. Now, over the course of the many years you've been within this game, what is your best memory related to VRChat?
I mean, honestly, it would probably be a pretty recent one, with the closing ceremony of last year's fest, just because of the amount of emotions that were that were there at that moment. Because with something like this, I talked a bit about this in my episode of Nova Notes, but with Project Fest, what we were trying to do, there's no guarantee of build it and they will come. Like, it was a very much risky thing to do what we were trying to do, which was, host a convention as big as that, and to, hope that people would want to go and attend it. And so when we saw, how many communities showed up, we saw the amount of people showed up and the different events hosted, that was a massive game changer about like what we can do and, how much power these communities have and how much support they can go and bring. And because of all of that, and because of, the craziness of taking that gamble and then having that pay off in a way that everyone was excited and happy about, there was no other reaction than to just cry at what transpired.
Yeah. And I'm sure with everything of it being such a massive gamble for you and everyone else in the team, the wave of emotions, especially on the final day, can only be described as immense. we talk a bit further in depth into this, what is Project Community?
So Project Community is an events group that specializes in showcasing or actually creating events that showcases different communities and individuals that exist inside of VRChat.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all about trying to showcase what's actually around this game. One of the biggest things that we've seen is that with newcomers to VRChat, they don't understand what VRChat really has to offer. So they would only really see like, the big worlds that have a couple hundred people, maybe like 1,000 or 2 that are inside of it, join in them, see some people fight, and then, just call it a day. I mean, there was that, I forgot what his name, but there was a big YouTuber that tried to do like a video about going into like VRChat and like calling it the metaverse, and he said the only thing there was children. Well, I can tell you right now that couldn't be farther from the truth. So we wanted to make it as simple and easy for people to really show off what they do and for players to see what this game has to offer. And that is our goal when it comes to PJKT, is making this space as inclusive and as accessible as possible, no matter how long you've been playing or what you do inside of the game.
Perfect in description. And is there anything specifically which you've done to account for everyone's needs and help them be more accessible to others?
So one of the major things that we wanted to do with PJKT is actually about how we handle booths as well. So we wanted to make it as simple and as easy as possible to actually submit your booths and, not necessarily have to worry about going through like long deadlines or having to like, send full-on packages and stuff like that. We wanted to make it as quick as possible. So our I team and our dev team actually created a custom SDK, the same way that when you submit stuff to VRChat, it's done through an SDK through Unity. We have an SDK that people can submit their booths there, where it has all the parameters when it comes to what a booth can include and like the limits to what a booth can have. And all that you do is just put your booth in, send it through the SDK, and our team immediately gets it and can place it to the world. Now, for people who don't necessarily have, the ability to 3D model a booth or to customize a booth like that or have a team to go and create a booth, we also wanted to make sure that they weren't left out. So what we also did as well is that for all of the different booths that exist, we have a pre-made booth where the only thing that you need is just a PNG where you can slap a couple images on, submit that, and you just made yourself a booth. It can be done in as little as 5 minutes, and you're already good to go. So we wanted to make sure that, showcasing your community can be as simple and as easy as possible.
No, it's very courteous, and as you've seen around the world, there's tens, if not probably at least 100 different groups taking part, or different booths. Do you know how many roughly booths there are in this world?
So in this world right now, last that I counted, it was 108.
Certainly a lot of groups, I could tell you that. But on top of that, as the Director of Community and Relations for Project Community, what do you do?
Well, I actually have one of the greatest jobs when it comes to PJKT, in my opinion. I get to go and meet the different groups, get to see like, what they go and do, and learn a bit more about them to see how we can actually showcase them better. So I actually go and talk to some of the different leaders that exist here and to understand a bit more about like, what they want in like the next fest or what they're planning for like how they're doing stuff, and even like bringing in new communities as well. So I get to give private tours to new groups that may be interested. And I love seeing their reactions as well, where they walk through the street sign right there, and then they just see this massive world of different groups. And it's awesome to see them realize that, hey, they can be one of the booths here located.
No, for sure. And I'm sure over the years it will drastically expand, but only time will certainly tell. And furthermore, as you mentioned at the beginning, soon there will be HorrorCon, but what is currently planned for HorrorCon?
So right now, plan for HorrorCon is just simply a horror-themed convention. So we did one last year with the HorrorCon crew, where basically it was just, something like this at a bit of a smaller scale to showcase horror-themed creators or communities that may do horror-related events.
Mm.
And so we're planning on basically doing the same thing again next year. It worked, so we're doing it again. And we're planning a brand new theme for the whole world. And we're also, I think we're going to have a new booth as well, going and customized and made. And maybe some additional fun stuff that you'll see later in the future that I can't reveal yet.
Ooh, I see. Very interesting. And hopefully by the time this releases, maybe some of the teasers may be out, but we don't know. Only time will tell on that. But if we take things from the present and to further into the future, where do you see Project Community going, or where would you want it to go?
Honestly, I would want to see PJKT kind of be at the forefront when it comes to showcasing basically the same thing that we do right here, but on a grander scheme. So I want to see if later in the future we can actually turn this into something even more physical. So actually have a convention space where people can, set up full-on public booths, maybe have, panels that people can physically attend. And even have like a portal system as well. So I know that there's some furcons that work with a group that actually has a camera system where they have a LED screen pointing a camera out of VRChat world, and then they have a camera pointing in the real convention space so that you can have that communication. I want to see if we can go beyond the screen and, showcase to a wider audience that what VRChat has to offer, and what these different communities go and do.
Yeah, and I look forward to what you and the rest of the team have to come. I'm sure that you are very ambitious with what you plan to do. You've clearly shown this by how everything's been laid out and how things have drastically expanded. But I'm also aware that you and the rest of the team do take part in other kind of events and activities, one of them being the Virtual Gauntlet. Now, how was the Virtual Gauntlet?
I mean, for beta test, it was quite okay. I know that the episode is going to be coming out. It should be coming out, I think after. I know they're doing a viewing party in the next couple of days. But yeah. So we actually got a message by Codavance and Lion about potentially forming a team just to beta test a different thing for Virtual Gauntlet, and so we did it. It was fun. There was a lot of bugs, and I kind of blame me and Narshwal for breaking about I would like to say 60 to 75% of the game.
Well,
the majority of the game is just us lying on the floor and then just winning. So it went to just oh, here's a good hole in the wall thing, to just how can we destroy everything in this universe? And luckily, at the end of the day, it was quite fun for everyone involved.
Well, I'm glad to hear regardless. I mean, you won't know what is truly possible unless you test the limits, which kind of, I find, symbolizes your group in a sense. And by you also testing the limits of the game, it's something for them to work on. I can put it like that. But hopefully they'll find a way to get around it. Now, switching from Project Community and into more xCirrex Media, how did you come about with announcing for xCirrex Media?
So it actually started 4 years ago, I would say. So before I was doing stuff in VRChat, I actually helped host a poker tournament with Lucky VR, who are the devs of Vegas Infinite, one of the biggest VR gambling games in the world right now. And that was back in 2019, where I helped host the first ever double shootout tournament. From there, I basically went back into VRChat, joined off of xCirrex, which I couldn't find at the time, so I found somebody else that actually said that they were mentioning about hosting a tournament for Laserdome, which would be the first ever tournament. I was really intrigued because I already hosted with another company, and so I would say, hey, this may be interesting. I've done this before. Could I help be a part of this and actually, make an official tournament? He said yes, and then from there we went to make the full sign-up forms. That went public, And because of VRChat at the time, it was a bit more of a smaller group of people, but yet very much well tight knit. So some of the devs actually wanted to form a team for the first ever Lazy Dome tournament back in July of 2020. And we had 8 slots open. Those slots got filled in 6 hours. From there, host the first tournament. I just started randomly sportscasting, like around like the semifinals or the finals. xCirrex really enjoyed it. We did it again. We kept on doing it, and then it was Halloween. xCirrex then invited me over as like a guest announcer. So if you remember the OG Zappening tournaments, that's when my voice was like officially a thing. And then it kept on spiraling more and more after that until it started to become an official thing where we had sportscasters, and xCirrex really delved into the idea of turning these tournaments from just a social thing into an actual like esport event.
Yeah. And just so people are fully like aware, what is Laserdome?
So Laserdome is a laser tag game that exists entirely within VRChat. So it is currently PC only right now, and you can get up to 20 people into an instance to go and play. There's different game modes like free-for-all, team deathmatch, capture the flag. Actually, no, not capture the flag, but control point. But we have bowling balls as well. So that, I guess, is the capture the flag aspect where it's just like one flag. It's a really fun game, and it's in existence for about like 4 years now, and we could be seeing it reach 5 absolutely. So
on top of that, I know people may now be aware of xCirrex Media doing Laserdome. Do they do anything else on top of that, or what more xCirrex Dome?
Absolutely. So xCirrex Media doesn't just have Laserdome. xCirrex is a musician that lives in Sweden, and he wanted to make video game music, but he couldn't find any video games to make music for, so he just started making his own. And so he actually has like a good collection of games for people to go and play. So there's like Fate of the Aeroblast, which if you played Faster Than Light, then you may be interested in. There's also Avi Wars, which if you've played Worms, then you'd be interested in that. And then there's also another game, which he's based off of a game like, I think it was like called like Cobalt Call or Cobalt Crew. It's called out something, but it's a card game, kind of like FTL, that he really enjoyed, and he actually streamed a little bit of. So that's his current next project right now.
And is there anything which you're aware which you could maybe tease for what to expect, or is it very currently early stages under wraps?
I mean, if you know a xCirrex game, then you know how it's going to look, you know how it's going to feel, and of course, it's a card game, so you probably know how it's going to play as well.
Yeah, makes perfect sense, and I look forward to it, and I'm sure others will too. But as I can see, and others as well, you posted a lot of different events, whether it be announcing or hosting, like small scales for little game nights to compare to large scale full events like this right here. But what has been your most memorable event to you?
That's a really good question. I mean, honestly, like, I still like to go modern. So I know I said Fest last year because that's like the go-to answer. Like that was like legitimate, like one of the greatest memories of all time. But if we're talking like, I do want to talk recently because like that's like the big thing right there. But if we're talking recently, then I would say doing the first ever Laserdome tournament with xCirrex and Bluesum, because that was the first time I actually really got to talk to Bluesum, who is the VO for Laserdome 2. And honestly, he impressed me to bits when it comes to his ability to improvise and adapt in real time. So beforehand, he had zero experience when it comes to doing any sportscasting, and by the end of it, we were just right then and there. Like the synergy was amazing between us.
Yeah.
And with the latest Savvy Wars tournament, that continued there, where he gotten so comfortable with sportscasting in such a short amount of time. And having that connection there is amazing.
Mm.
And then when it came to the pool parlor tournament as well, that happened. That was so much fun. So I got invited by Yuko or Euconix as well as Novid to do sportscasting with them, and we were joined by a person by the name of Fantasy Program.
Mm-hmm.
And with all three of us together, we were having a blast. Like, it didn't even feel like that we were doing an event. We were just like talking to each other. There was a game going on. We talked about that, and it was just a whole bunch of fun.
Good. I'm very pleased to hear. You find that if you're very relaxed with it, and when you kind of are nice and comfortable, but you're able to bounce off the people around you, others who are listening in or taking part, it's so much more energy and passion into it, and I'm sure others loved it.
Mm-hmm. So for the most part with sportscasting is not necessarily a thing of like trying to be the expert in the room, but just trying to be good at improvising what's going on.
Mm.
So you're not necessarily here to try and do like a top level, like we're at Olympics event, because this isn't the environment for that.
Yeah.
There's things that break that are beyond the world maker's control.
Mm.
There's updates that may come in that may destroy everything, and you may have to wait a day or two in order to get everything fixed. That's just how life is.
Mm.
And so this isn't necessarily a professional environment. So there's no reason to act professional with this.
Yeah.
This is a much more relaxed area. So the way that you treat it is just by saying, it's an improvised thing. You are a storyteller in a book where you don't know how it begins, leads, or even ends.
Mm.
And so your job is to figure out who are the main characters in the whole event, push them as far as they can go, and then tell a story.
Yeah.
You got underdogs, you got people that join in for the first time, that's the story right there. You got somebody that has won 5 tournaments in a row, that's the story right there. Put them two together. You have 2 stories that are clashing. Which one wins, which one loses? You continue with that story, but that becomes an arc right there that you can continue with.
Mm.
And so it's that whole entire idea of putting the pieces together to build something unforgettable and making everyone who participates feel like they're part of something, something more massive than what it may be.
Mm.
Because, this is just random people coming together to play a game. But yet, with an environment like that, you can treat it as something way more bigger, where you're giving the audience people to root for. You're giving the audience a backstory of everything going on. You're giving characters. You're giving a narrative. And that is the power of sportscasting. Being able to go and tell that story and to get the audience engaged and to get people watching and to get people following and to turn those people that just appear for a tournament into now these dedicated heroes that have plot, that have proof, and are aiming for a goal. It may not even be to win. It may just be to have a fun time. But they're doing something that's interesting, and you can run with that.
Mm.
And that's why I love these events.
No, you can certainly see that. At least from my position, I can feel the organic, but yet passion within what you do. And with that organic, it keeps it a lot very fresh, and I'm sure people are very engaged when listening in. So it's wonderful to hear. But on top of that, I know you've spoken with a couple of different communities, but are there any other communities you work with?
Let's see. So I actually have like a massive list as well, of different groups I'm part of. There's actually one that is outside of VRChat that I actually spend some time with. I found this. So apparently in Discord, there is a massive community of people that are just dedicated to running online reality games.
Mm.
So, like Survivor, Big Brother, stuff like that. There's people that can find ways to turn those game show formats into something that runs fully on Discord.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of those people that actually make their own custom formats specifically for Discord. And I had the privilege and honor to meet two people that I absolutely adore. Luke DeVoe and Florangi, who Luke DeVoe created a custom format called Eradication that I absolutely love. And Florangi is the host of the live shows that they do. So they stream everything on Twitch. And it's brilliant from start to finish when it comes to the drama, when it comes to the players, when it comes to everything. The casting is flawless. If you want, then I can talk about like how Eradication is played out.
Feel free, spend some time. I'm sure people will be interested because anything you're passionate about, people love to hear. So they're here to learn about you. Take the floor.
So Eradication is a game show format that takes place in two phases. The Coalition phase, where you can earn temporary immunity, and the Riot phase, where you fight to avoid elimination. So each round starts with a thing called the Coalition phase, where your goal is to form groups and to keep those groups as tight as possible so you don't actually go into the Riot. Each round will have a thing called a faction mandate, which will include a number that is the max amount of groups that you can make, and the amount of players that can be in each group. So for instance, in a game of 12 players, I may ask for 2 factions of 5. So players would need to form a group of 5, and there can be a maximum of 2 groups made, meaning that there's going to be 2 players that are guaranteed to go into the Riot. Now, you're given only a limited amount of time to talk to players and a limited amount of time to submit your factions. If everyone in a group submits the same thing, you're safe. But if one person doesn't submit anything, or goes to a different group, or just submits a different faction, you're in the Riot. And the Riot is just a single competition. Whoever does the worst is eradicated. And the game goes on into the final 2, where it goes to a jury vote to decide who wins. It is such a simple format, but yet such a devastating one as well.
Mm-hmm.
I have never seen a game show that has had this much heartbreak, this many challenges with alliance, and so much focus on social skills. Because most game shows rely around the challenges being the big thing, and then the social skills being everything in between. So like Big Brother, head of household, that's a challenge. Power veto, that's a challenge. Even the additional stuff that may pop up, that's a challenge as well. For Survivor, immunity, that's a challenge. And immunity isles as well, that's a challenge in and of itself to go and find. Everything else is social detection. I have never seen social be the biggest thing there and be the first thing that you need to focus on.
Mm.
So there are games that may begin with just people being, chill and fine. But as we get closer and closer to a jury, that's when you start seeing lines drawn. That's where you start seeing alliances form. That's where you start seeing rivalries happen. And that's what I love about Eradication, is that it's one of the most cutthroat formats to any type of game show there. And the best part, it's on Discord. You can do it. You can just join the server. They even host mini events where they announce it the day of, and they get about 15, 20 people. They play a game. And every single time, it's amazing.
Mm.
I think as of recording, they've hosted with the long terms, the lives, and the minis, I like to say 56 seasons.
Ouch. Mm-hmm.
And the format as well is, a very what's the best word to say it? I guess fluid, because it's very accessible to whatever time limit you want. So they have shows that are just tinies, where it's 5 people in a season, or it just goes for 30 minutes. They do the live shows as well, which can range between 14 to 16 players, which that may go to 4 to 5 hours. And then you have the long terms, which each phase is 24 hours, and so seasons most of the time run for about a month.
Mm.
So if you're here just to play quickly, or if you want to try and go for the long game, they have found ways to do it all.
Mm.
So any time limit, any time frame, any amount of people, they got you covered.
Yeah. And thank you for bringing a different aspect, which people wouldn't actually be aware of, but sounds certainly very interesting, and a different dynamic onto a system which most people would be more familiar to, but a dynamic for the better, I would say. And
also with how with how diverse eradication may be, I would totally be down to work with somebody as well to actually turn it into like a full-on VR experience.
Mm-hmm.
Because all that you need is just like, like different like square rooms for people to talk to. Have it be like a float so you could change the limit to like how many people can be in a room or like how many rooms exist, and then maybe put some mini games in the world for the riot. And there you go. That's eradication. Just boom.
Yeah.
Anyone can host, anyone can play. It's done.
Well, I mean, certainly ideal for either project community or other people to bring into VRChat. It sounds quite reasonable though. Certainly possible as a social deduction game. But taking things back to more a general bit of you, are there any other projects that you're currently helping out or working on?
So my actual day job is with live stream engineer. So my official title is associate playback engineer. So I do more than just live streams. But for the most part, I help with meetings and I help with live events. And I work for a company by the name of Edge Factory. It's owned by somebody named Dan Cole, who I'm actually really good friends with. And it's a Emmy award-winning company as well, which I think they won it back in like early to mid 2010s for the Rocky Mountain Emmy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, since then they've won so many more things. So you know how we won a telly? They've won like 8 of those. They've also won like Marcom's, Viddies as well, and I think they were even at like the Fast 50 for the Orlando Business Journal as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the company has existed for I'm about to say 25 years now, and they focus a lot on event and media production. So the best way to say is like think of something like this, but for companies and for something physical. So they worked with companies like Thermo Fisher. They've done work with Disney. In fact, I think Disney is like one of their first ever clients as well. And we've also done some events for other groups like NGLCC, the National Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce. In fact, like we're one of the official providers for them. And we also worked as well with Special Olympics when it actually came to Orlando, Florida, around where Disney is. So we actually did all the digital signage for that.
And how did you start working for Edge Factory?
So it all started because actually my mom was trying to find a church for our family. So here's the thing. Despite the fact that our family is Christian, we're not necessarily the most straight. So I am a gay man, and my sister is also pansexual. Despite that, though, we actually are Christian, and so we were trying to find a church that can actually, be inclusive towards LGBTQIA people. So we try to like bounce back and forth between different churches that exist, but we actually found one finally that exists called Joy MCC, Joy Metropolitan Community Church. And in that church was actually Brian Cole, the CEO and founder of Edge Factory, who is also a gay man. And his lover actually also works for the company as well as, I think, like a PA as well. I don't know his official title, but he also helps a lot of stuff when it comes to making sure that the staff and the crew for Edge Factory is well maintained. So he meets with my mom, and my mom talks about the stuff that I've been doing inside of VRChat with the different live streams and the different events I've been doing. Brian is immediately interested. And so after that discussion, Brian says to my mom, if your son can help run the streams for this church, I will give him a job. 1 month later, I arrive and I meet him. I meet the different people there, the helper and everything. So I think at the time it was like Joel was there, but there was also Reverend Terry Steed, who is like the lead reverend at the church and also is a lesbian. And I basically get in. It's a brand new software that I've never heard of called vMix. And basically, like in the week or two of trying to learn the software, immediately got the ball rolling. vMix to me felt similar to like OBS, which I have years of experience with. So there's just like some things I need to like learn like outside of the church, but for the most part, I learned everything there. Brian was impressed. Brian was impressed with what I did, and so he said, "Yeah, like I think January 1st, I'd like to say like 2022 was like my starting date of being an intern at the company."
Mm-hmm.
And then it just spiraled more and more into doing some more awesome stuff. So now I'm actually being flown around the United States to help do different events. So like in June, like early June, I did an event with Thermo Fisher Scientific for ASMS, where I helped with their hospitality suites for their breakfast streams and also their user meeting as well. So I was flown from Florida all the way over to Anaheim, California. And my sister, who also met Brian this way as well, actually does the CAD for these events as well. So she actually got to fly with me. We shared a room, and honestly, it just felt like a beautiful vacation. When we woke up, did a thing, slept, talked to some people. We ate steak at a fancy restaurant, because what else do you do in Anaheim, California? And yeah, like it was just really, really fun, and I'm really happy I got to do that with my sister as well.
Yeah, and it's really happy to hear people falling on their feet, and you and the rest of your family seem to be doing very well with it. And I'm sure, just by probably chance, but you've taken that and taken all the skills and built on and on and on, progressing to show vastly different things across not only in VRChat, but actually around the country. And is there any future planned like events or streams planned for Edge Factory?
So there's always a future when it comes to Edge Factory and what we do. And so I don't know how much I can reveal that, because when you're dealing with businesses, there's a lot of stuff that's under NDA. So I can't necessarily reveal a lot, but it's safe to say that right now business is booming with Edge Factory, and there's a lot of companies that are already interested with what we do. And so I'm happy with working with the team that I have. If Matt, Marina, if you're watching this right now, Manny, hello. Also, of course, Brian and Topher, y'all are amazing. But yeah, like the company is going really good right now. I love the people that I work with, and every week we do our weekly meetings as well. And it's always nice to have the energy where it's just people having fun, people just like saying whatever's on their mind, and overall, it's just a really fun environment. So yeah, Edge Factory is doing good, and I couldn't be happier.
That's wonderful to hear, and it means a lot to people when you can just have fun with it, and it's just purely enjoy what you do. But moving on to more personal questions, which more to you as a person, why did you start hosting events and live streaming?
So I guess the main reason why is because I wanted to try and I wanted to try and get better with socializing with people, and to actually just like do what I've been dreaming of ever since I was 4 years old. So like I mentioned before, like I grew up Christian, and ever since I was 4, I've been going to churches. And one of the churches I went to when I was in elementary school is a church called Grace Family Church in Tampa, Florida. So they have this massive setup that goes on. So if you think of like what a mega church is, scale it back like a couple steps, and that's basically what it is. You still got like the AV, you still got the digital screens, you still got the big performers, you still got like the setup, you even got the arcades as well that exist that like some kids play, but for the most part they don't. But yeah, like that, seeing those, and then from there, growing up, I also used to watch the news, so I watched a lot of Bay News 9. And seeing like the weather reports, seeing the different like headlines that pop up, that really got me invested into wanting to actually go into a more like media route of doing stuff. I got even into music as well. So like basically every single day I'm listening to like some random song, and it's on average like every single year my Spotify has like 110 days worth of music. So like a third of the year is just listening to songs. Um, but yeah, like that really inspired me into like trying to get towards media. And the only thing that was really stopping me was my autism. So I was diagnosed in third grade for having ASD, autism syndrome disorder. Initially it was called Asperger's, but they recently changed the name. And it was really difficult to socialize with people, because for me it would just be like, micro interest. I didn't really have much to go and say other than just like, hey, here's a thing that I've been watching on YouTube, and that being it. And so with VRChat, that really got me outside of my bubble and actually socializing more, because generally, like, I have met a lot of good people inside of this game. And this is a space that I feel really, really comfortable with, just talking to people. And, just seeing, like, what they do, and seeing, like, if I can go and help out, or just, like, what conversations we can go and have. Because that's what this game is about. It's a social VR platform.
Yeah.
Social is the first word. You talk to people. That's what VRChat is. And so, because of having that virtual space, in order to meet new people that generally I wouldn't be able to meet in the first place, because I was just a sheltered kid that spent most of my time just in my room, having a free space in order to go and talk to people. That really opened my shell, and that really made me feel so much more comfortable with just meeting new people and actually trying to spark those conversations. And because of VRChat, that really opened me up to having that sort of field and like doing what I actually want to go and do and love, which then brought me into the whole media aspect with, making videos on the side, doing some live streams here and there. Even like when Jackbox Party Pack 6 came out, like I actually did like themed streams around Trivia Murder Party 2, and that was so much fun. And because of VRChat, that opened my shell in order to do those things. And as that kept on continuing, as I felt more and more comfortable, it just led to more possibilities and more opportunities. So now you see me on stages like these, being able to have, talks, not feeling, camera shy, not feeling like, not feeling stiff about it. I actually feel fluid. I actually feel like that I can go and have conversation, actually go and like, fluctuate when it comes to like talking to different people, and to, move forward. Even if there's like a technical difficulty, I can find ways in order to make it, look interesting, and to make things still flow, still move. If I wasn't in this game, I wouldn't be able to do that. I would have no idea how to do that, and I would just be, I would just be in neat in my room, not knowing what to do. This game has given me so many opportunities that I didn't know exist. This is the reason why, I got into live streaming. This is the reason I got into events. This is the reason why I got a job. This is the reason why I'm contracted to go in different places. This is the reason why I can stand on a stage like this. I can work with people that I may or may not even meet in person in my lifetime. I can work with people around the world. This game is the reason why I have those opportunities. And I couldn't be more thankful about it.
And I'm really thankful to hear, and for others to hear your story and how you've come to such a place. It's honestly very special and very emotional, but very special for sure. But VRChat does bring a lot for people, and it's brought a lot for myself, yourself, hundreds, if not thousands of other people. But if you could make one change to VRChat to help it improve for the future, what would that be?
That is a super good question. What would be the one thing that this game would really need? honestly just more PR. Like, if we're looking at the opportunities that exist here right now, one of the like common difficulties is just that as it stands right now, VR is still a bit of an enclosed space. And so really the only people that understand what exists out here are the ones that are already inside. Because I can tell you right now that because of COVID and because of the initial pushes that were going on, people don't understand what VRChat is. Because when they think of metaverse, they think of like Meta Horizons. They think of NFTs. They think of blockchain, which none of this is representative of what this virtual space has to offer. I mean, if we're looking at what's happening over there, like Meta Horizons, I don't even know like how much of a player base it even has. Like you're hardly ever hearing about what's going on. They don't even have legs. Like they can't even do any of this stuff. I'm half body, and this existed since like day one. They can't figure that out. And they tried to funnel money into it and it's not working. Actually, let's do something interesting. And I'm pretty sure that most of the people here, this is probably the first time you're hearing about this. So Meta Horizons, or Meta Worlds, what are called? Let's just call it Meta. So they actually have done World Jams before, just like VRChat, in order to test out different features. And I know this because a couple of years ago, I saw posters about this. So, if the World Jams that exist here, one of the major things is just that you have your world on the list, and that's the main thing there. That, you were selected, here's the feature list, bam. Meta was giving out USD. So, let's play a quick game of high or low. I'm currently thinking a number right now, and this number is the amount of money given out for an honorable mention. So, like a category on the side. How much money do you think was given out for just an honorable mention in this World Jam to test out new features?
Okay, especially considering what you've mentioned, maybe about 100 or so, 100 USD or so.
Higher.
250.
Higher.
500.
Higher.
What are we talking, like 2,000?
$5,000.
It's a lot of money.
For an honorable mention. Do you want to guess what first place got?
10 grand. I wouldn't know personally.
$30,000.
Ouch.
Imagine what a $30,000 VRChat world would look like.
Insane.
So in total, Meta gave away for just a single World Jam $115,000 USD. And despite that, nothing. People still don't play the game.
Yeah.
They've had worlds that were, in partnership with Oreo, with Wendy's. Nothing. They even had the world that was made for the Super Bowl commercial. I went there a couple years back. 0 players. Nobody was there. And that's what people see. When they think of metaverse, they think of that. They think the flops that happen over there. They don't see what's happening here. They don't see that we just recently broke a record with 110,000 players concurrently that were live just over a weekend. When they think of metaverse, they think of blockchain. They think of NFTs, and they think of the coins that dropped in 90% in value. They think of the Silicon startups that got 50 million in funding, and then maybe 2-1 players before it just gets thrown away. That's what people think. They don't see works like this that are global efforts, people around the world working together to build experiences like these.
Yeah.
And that's what I would want to go and change, is to bring more light to an environment like this. Because if there's any space that really needs focus, this is the space. Because you have people that are doing impressive work, that are doing jobs that, frankly, if they were getting paid for, we would probably see, easily six-figure salaries coming in.
Mm.
And they're doing it all for free. And they're doing it for the labor of love. We have people that are running groups of tens of thousands of people. We have people creating dozens and dozens of 3D assets. We have people creating full-on games, actual game production companies that exist, all for the labor of love. Imagine how much they can do with just a portion of what was meant to given out.
Mm.
Like imagine, yet again, just honorable mention of 5,000. Imagine what a $5,000 VRChat world would look like.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
I want people to see.
Mm.
I want people to see what's happening here, because this is where virtual reality is at. This is where social VR is at. This is what the fuck the metaverse is.
Mm.
And so that would be the change that I want for VRChat. It's just a brand new PR push, and to showcase exactly what's going on.
Yeah. And at least to me, I could see it being made by the people for the people, or something to that extent.
Morgan and Morgan.
Mm. Exactly. But taking things a bit back to yourself, why did you decide to use the name Chris Kani for VRChat?
So this was just a name that I was going to use for a separate thing, and then I just got into attached to. So when I was in 4th or 5th grade, I was a big fan of Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and so I wanted to make a fan-made book about a kid who was making a YouTube channel for Minecraft, and that just be the story there. The YouTube channel would be called Newbie Block, and the name of the character was Chris Kani.
Mm-hmm.
And as time went on, I started to grow and attach to that name. So I used it for my YouTube page, and then I liked it. I used it for Discord, still liked it. And then I went to VRChat, used it again, still really liked it. I didn't even know at the time that Kani meant crab in Japanese. I just thought it sounded cool.
Mm-hmm. Oh, perfect. It shows a lot of backstory and lore to you, along with everything else you've previously mentioned, but But on top of a bit more about you, why do you choose to present yourself the way you do in VRChat?
Well, first of all, I'm a furry, so of course I'm going to have a furry avatar.
Mm.
But where do we begin with this? So with the whole identity of what this character's name is Raz. I chose the name Raz because, first of all, I'm a gambling nerd. I love statistics, and I learned how to play Texas Hold'em when I was 11, and ever since I've been wanting to learn more and more casino games and bankroll management and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So Raz is a card game, a bit of a niche card game that exists, but it's still a poker game that people go and play. It's featured in the World Series of Poker.
Mm-hmm.
And it also means to playfully tease, because I'm a smug bitch. So the initial idea of Raz actually sparked with the great, it was the Ars Goetia. If I remember correctly, there's a great king of hell called Beleth, who serves, I think, 86 or 88 Legion of Demons. The reason why I like the character is because it goes back into music. They listen to every song made by humans,
Mm-hmm.
and then they also co-wrote a book about mathematics. So they're a band nerd, and they're a math nerd, which I absolutely love.
Mm-hmm.
So the initial character of Beleth was depicted, I think it's a cat having a brass instrument. It's something close it's like a trombone, like a French horn or something like that. And so the initial character Raz was meant to be a robotic black cat that ran off of head pats. So I'm pretty sure I still have the art for this, so I can send this to you. But at the forehead, there was like a symbol of a hand. You would just pet the cat, and it would energize the cat. And as time went on, Rasily turned into a hyena, which then was turned into the otter that you see now. Actually, no, it was a Shiba, then hyena, then otter, if we're going off of the VRChat avatars that I use. Since I was like an OG member of the Shiba squad. In fact, you could probably find videos of like me and me with like rectal bisque or something. But yeah. Initially, though, I think the reason why I've grown so attached to the character, and as I focus more on like the cybernetic of it, I think it just goes back with my autism. Just because, for me, I've always had a problem with trying to handle emotion.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily that like I'm over emotional, I'm under emotional. And so I find it hard to connect with people for that.
Yeah.
So like for me, like one of the most difficult things for me is actually like experiencing sadness. So like the ability to go and mourn. It's rare that I actually get, sad about people passing. Just because I find it hard to understand like, how death takes place and how much of a toll it may be.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to really connect with that. And so for me, when it comes to other emotions, sometimes I may be like, overgenic when it comes to like different things happening. But like early on, I had to really fake everything. Just because I didn't really know how to feel certain ways. And so that's where like the machinery kind of comes in, because I felt like a machine. Because of my autism, I felt like a machine. I felt like that the only real things that I could do is just the work that I put in.
Yeah.
That I couldn't necessarily feel human. And that is what really spiraled me into like a very massive depression phase, where I would, when it comes to like schoolwork, I would have a hard time focusing just because other things going on. And so it felt like that with school, that my worth would only come in the work that I would actually put in, and with nothing else. Because like that's like when it comes to grades, that's what it feels like, that you are limited down to the number that you represent. There's nothing on an emotional level that you can bring to the table other than the percentage that you distribute out. And I hated that. I hated that feeling so much. And that was the reason why I initially wanted to switch over to online schooling, and then I just flat out dropped out of high school, because I knew that it was getting to a point where I was feeling incredibly suicidal over trying to just do schoolwork. And I was already doing a lot of good stuff in this game, where I was already hosting a whole bunch of events, meeting a lot of cool people. And so I put myself to an ultimatum of, do I try and suffer through getting through online schooling, or do I take the risk? Do I take the gamble and focus on the good stuff that I'm doing here? And I took the gamble. And this is where it brought me to. And I couldn't be happier for that. So this is a representation of exactly the struggles I've kind of went through in order to get to this moment. And as time and time goes on, I start to feel more and more human, which I feel extremely happy about. That I'm now able to actually feel more emotion. I'm able to connect with people. I'm able to cry. I'm actually able to cry. And I feel happy about the fact that I can cry. So for the closing ceremony, that's what I did. And I have felt so proud of myself for being able to do that. To actually, be comfortable not only with that vulnerability, but being able to go and express it, and having an ability to go and express it. So that's what this Sona means to me. That's what Raz means to me. Is that shift and that change to, go and talk to people and to, be able to have that sort of charismatic attitude and to be able to, have those conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Despite the fact that, this autism is still a disability. Also, quick thing. To the people that say that this shit is a superpower, fuck off. Fuck you. It's not. I still run into daily problems when it comes to my autism.
Mm.
You're not empowering me in order to do stuff. It's more or less like trying to just like Hollywood what this disability is. It's still a disability. I still run into problems, and I will probably run into problems my entire life because of it.
Mm.
This isn't a superpower. And so this is what this is.
Mm.
This is how I showcase who I am. This is showcase what my disability and the improvements I've had.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Raz means to me.
Mm.
More at 11.
No, that's very heartfelt, and it's actually come across with a lot of emotion, and, although baggage, but you're comfortable with expressing it, and it's honestly quite honorable to see. But throughout this interview, I've seen you're very motivated with everything you do, but what do you find keeps you motivated with the work you do?
Honestly, the push for change.
Mm.
So initially, what really motivated me was seeing the stuff happening around me and me really wanting to do something about it.
Mm.
So, like I said before, like growing up, I would actually watch the news, and I don't know why, but in kindergarten, first grade, I was really into politics.
Mm.
So, like, with the whole presidential campaign between like Barack Obama and Mitt Romney, I would talk to my parents about what's going on over there and talking about like the things that they're suggesting and like just trying to understand what was going on with the election.
Mm.
I'm still quite political, but now not as much just because of the insanity that's going on with U.S. politics. Luckily, though, it seems to be that like things are like not as insane now. Just because like Kamala Harris is now like the presidential elect. Not elect, but the nominee for the Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like Trump's numbers are kind of like dwindling. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm very much a Democrat. But things are like starting to like spiral less and less into chaos, and now things like kind of solidify a bit. Which now I feel a lot more comfortable getting to politics.
Mm-hmm.
But that initial push when it comes to like watching the news and seeing like current events and stuff really has made me active. Wanting to like go and like try and push for change. And so with events like these and stuff, like this in and of itself may be something deeply rooted in politics, just because like what we're doing is showcasing community.
Mm.
And we're trying to push a change forward into showcasing these different groups. And I want to make sure that events like these happen year in, year out, 5, 10, 20, 30 years in the future. It may not even be with the name PJKT. It may be with a completely different name, and it may be with a completely different group.
Mm.
But with what is happening right now, my goal is to focus on the present and to push for dramatic changes here in order to help the future move forward in a much more calmer light and in a much more safer place.
Mm.
I want future generations to not necessarily look at a moment like this now, but to live easier in the future.
Mm.
If I were to adopt and have kids, I want them to live in a safer place.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how safe this place is right now, I want them to be safer.
Mm.
If I have a group of friends that are, wanting to do something, I want to make their jobs easier.
Mm.
It doesn't matter how easy their jobs is right now, I want to make it easier. And so I want to really push for that change of how can we make life better? How can we make life easier?
Mm.
And with stuff like this, we're bringing people together. We're having communities together. And so just from small moments like these, there's change that's happening. When we're having groups mingling, we're breaking bread.
Mm.
And we're having groups collaborate and trade ideas, trade stories, and things are going on. And that's what I always like to push for. That's my motive of doing anything, is creating a change and helping develop a domino effect that people go and see and people expand upon.
Mm.
The future can have so many different possibilities. And with how chaotic the future may be, I find it difficult to try and focus on anything that the future may hold.
Mm.
Instead, I want to focus on what's happening now. Because right now, we can change stuff. We can't change anything in the past because the past is past. We can't change anything in the future because that's the future. It hasn't happened yet.
Mm.
We need to focus on now. So what can we do now to make the future brighter? What can we do now in order to help make ourselves and everyone around us more comfortable? To make life better, to make life easy, to make life simpler? What can we do to make this world a better place?
Mm.
And that is my goal. That is my motive for everything that I do. Is that change for a better present, for a brighter future.
Mm. Yeah. And following on to that, who do you find has or is inspiring you to do what you do?
My inspiration changes time to time just because I bounce between a whole bunch of different groups, but
Yeah.
For the most part, that change and that motivation that I see from everybody, I would like to say is from the staff here.
Mm.
Nothing is more accelerating. Nothing is more. I don't know the best words, but nothing gives me more grit than seeing the work and the effort that this staff puts in to not only events like these, but also their own personal projects.
Yeah.
Because everyone that's a part of the staff is not just doing this. We have our own personal things that we're doing on the side as well.
Mm.
We may have our day jobs that we're doing. We may have our own groups that we're running. We may have our different events that we're developing. We're always doing something. And being in such a good environment to showcase those different ideas, to showcase the different mediums that are being worked on, and to showcase everything around us, that gives me hope. That gives me that drive. That gives me that motive. And if we had a dormant team that was just doing this, I probably wouldn't be here. Just because it would get boring.
Yeah.
Nothing much is really going on. We have such an accelerated team of people that are so passionate, not just about this, but about the work that they do, that it grows on everyone else and it uplifts everybody else. It reminds all of us that we are together, that we are coming together to make something awesome. And we all get to do it universally in a platform that we can adore. And so, for the PJKT staff, I thank you all for giving me that drive in order to help continue, events like these, to help, bring this to a bigger light and to be able to work with people, talk to people, and also to help out as well, just with how I am mentally.
Yeah.
Because this has seriously gifted me so much joy. So I thank you all for that.
And I'm sure all the communities which you've collaborated with and worked with over the years will thank you back too. Because, I mean, we both can see all the work which all of you have put in to get this arranged, get this sorted. So, thank you, Chris, as well. It's honestly honourable to have this conversation and to hear you express yourself in your truest form. But to kind of wrap this up on the positive note, which we have right now, is there anyone you would suggest for me to interview in the future?
Oh, that is a good question. So, first of all, I saw that he got Metaverse Legion. I don't know if he got Nova yet.
I haven't, no.
He's always a good one to go and talk to. Secondly, who else? So, I mean, honestly, let's go down the list. So, like, the directors and team leads, like, they're all open when it comes to like discussing with, because, like I said, everyone part of the staff is doing amazing work, and they're doing their own personal stuff as well. So it's always interesting from like seeing their perspective on like what they go and do.
Yeah.
Another one that I also would like to mention as well that I really want to see more of. Down Lyric from the Traveling Circus. He is so talented, and it amazes me the fact that he's not as like heard of. He absolutely deserves the spotlight, and like with the amazing avatars that he does and the wonderful experiences that he creates, and also with just the optimization that he does as well.
Yeah.
Like, he has a story, he has a performance, he has everything. And so that would be another person that I would want you to talk to, because he's really cool.
Well, thank you. It does mean a lot, and it helps me have a good direction to give said spotlight to people, even if it might not be to the broadest of audiences, but to people nonetheless who were interested and willing to be like, hey, I know this person, or this sounds interesting, let's learn more. And that's what I try to do to give this to others.
As a way of ending things off, yet again, I just want to say thank you to everyone that joined in and helped make PJKT what it is. To the staff that we have now, to the staff in the future that we may bring in, and of course to our alumni that has helped us in the past. You are the reason why these events can exist. And to the communities that have also showcased here, both in the past, present, and future, thank you so much for attending. And we hope to push the medium of what these events may become and what they mean, and to help build VRChat into an even more positive space, into an even more accessible space. Thank you all for such an amazing group. Until next time.